Welcome back to Get Inspired, Stay Inspired. Today is part 4 of emotional eating, and we are here with Dr. Marty and Dr. Donna again. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi there.
Today we are talking about know your emotional triggers. So yeah, we can't manage something that we do not know. So we are going to talk about how and what you can do to have an awareness and know what really triggers you to eat emotionally. Right, ladies?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
I think last series we talked about how to cope with when you're in that moment. And every week, I think we've given you a little piece of this. So if you're feeling lost, go back and look at our other 3 episodes that we did before this one. You'll get a little nugget every time, and it all ties up to make very good sense in the end. So one of the things that we want to discuss this week is how do you know what sets you off? And I think most of us have a fairly good idea, but we might not realize exactly how to pinpoint those things so that we could get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's sometimes we may even have to be honest with ourselves. What triggers us, and some people can't decipher through that. So that's something that you also have to look at.
I think also it's really important to, I always talk about making lists of these things. And I think Coach Martha spoke about journaling, and, you've talked about taking time for yourself and meditating. And I think all of these things are part of what you're saying, that sometimes we don't even know, and we need to be honest with ourselves as to why. And it's super important that, sometimes it's a happy emotional trigger. And that's something, we talked about when you're stressed out. We've talked about when you want to kill your teenager. We've talked about when your boss makes you angry and your spouse ticks you off. We've talked about all these things, but we haven't talked about, getting together with friends and you're happy.
The celebration
and
trigger.
Everything.
Right.
The celebration trigger. And that's the one that gets me every time. I will be doing so fantastic for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and then I'll get together with friends for a weekend, and it's like
all out the door.
And all out you throw everything
the baby
I know
in the bathroom goes right
so,
out.
Yep. And so, I've learned, I might love to see my friends, but I need to have a strategy before I show up, because things are going to get real. Right. And so these are, it's taken me a while to figure out my emotional trigger. So other than becoming a hermit and not ever seeing anybody, you need to figure out what sets you off and engage those coping mechanisms before it happens.
Yeah. You also have to remember peer pressure, right? I always say that the peer pressure from adults is worse than teenagers. I know one of my triggers, I go out to dinner celebrating with friends, you want to have that cocktail. I know that cocktail, I lose inhibition, right? So you start eating all different appetizers. Dr. Marty, you and I went to dinner a few weeks ago, right? So we didn't have our cocktail. We had that fizzy water with our muddled.
We were so good,
right? Wasn't it great?
We were so good.
Coach
yeah,
Martha,
we behaved
we
ourselves.
got you involved on that one too. But yeah, so you kind of have to figure out what your triggers are and find a replacement for it too. With that, again, I know that a glass of a cocktail, it relaxes you. Yeah. And most people celebrate with that. Find something to replace it.
Yeah. I feel like we have been conditioned to use food for many different things, whether it's emotional eating from a sad or angry standpoint or a celebratory standpoint. If something great happens and you get that promotion that you've been waiting for, let's go celebrate. And it's always surrounded by food. If
happy hour.
Happy hour, yeah, for sure.
It's called happy hour. Called happy hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes you happy? Does it really?
Yeah, and I mean, I may be wrong, but I will venture to say that emotional eating, probably a large percentage of that is something that might have happened negative that will put you into that place of looking for something to comfort you, you know. I don't know what that percentage is, but it seems like most of it comes from that direction, and that's what's very hard to manage if you don't have that full control of yourself, you know. I've said it before in other videos that when I'm in one of those moments, I start cleaning and I stop talking, you know, and that's what my mother used to do, and I think that's where I picked it up, you know, and I'm glad that I don't go for that chips, because I'm a crunchy, salty kind of person. If you put a pie in front of me versus something edamames, I'll go for the edamames because I like that saltiness, right? So it's like, it's knowing, you know, knowing what those triggers are and what comforts you. Like, what are those things that you eat that provides that comfort that you're looking for, you know? The other day I was feeling some type of way and I went straight to my treadmill, you know, and I just did
I
15.
wish I could acquire that habit.
Yeah, right. But you want to know something? That's something that you create, that you get rid of those bad habits and create a new one. And that's with anything, you know. In order to be able to get on that treadmill, you have to start somewhere. It
Yeah.
may not be, the treadmill may not be for you, but you won't know, right?
Okay,
you know,
so so let me ask you a question, Coach Martha, because this is something that, you know, I think we all know what it is. So how do you pinpoint, how do you learn to pinpoint the situations that set you off? And I'm gonna turn this one over to Martha first, just because I want to hear from your perspective. Like, what do you coach people to do in that moment?
you know, just a couple of things. I feel like for me personally, I know what you know, shoots off, like what puts me in that place. And it's always my children, like something with my children, you know. I am a business person, been in business for a long time. I've been in administration and managed hundreds of people. And I am used to things being thrown at me from all kinds of direction all at the same time, and I can multitask and I can deal with this and deal with that and that and pivot and shift and that. But there's two things that put me in that place, and I know because in when I'm out there working or I'm doing whatever, I'm like completely, you know, I can manage and I can take care of anything that comes at me. But then there are these two things, right? And I feel like people, I think that people just know. For me, my children, they can drive me crazy once in a while. You know, like, especially when your children are older and you don't have full control, right? Number two, when I feel like I want something to go a certain direction and I don't have control of that. You know, and this is it's very important, like Dr. Donna said, you know, to be honest with yourself and transparent. When I don't think I have control issues, but I feel like when I really don't have 100% control of where this is gonna head, that puts me in a place of maybe worry. And then that's when I start cleaning and my brain starts going and my mental gymnastics start going and da da da, you know. So so what do? I'm a spiritual person. I'm a spiritual person. I pray. I work out, I gather my thoughts. It's like I even do breathing exercises because it's like, okay, Martha, self-talk. I self-talk. You don't have full control of this. You know, you've done all you can. You know, I self-talk a lot. And I tell my clients to self-talk because
Good self-talk.
Good self-talk.
Because there's a difference.
Good self-talk. Yes, there is. Okay, so we've identified Martha's. So Martha's, and this is kind of why I wanted to hear from her first, and then I'm going to ask you the exact same thing, Dr. Donna, just so that people kind of see the process of what we need to do, right? Because it's not just stress. You can hide under the blanket of stress
For sure.
and say, oh, I'm stressed out, so I'm going to eat. You know what? There's
Yep.
specific
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that are hard to cope with, because we all have stress, we all have life, we all
Yep.
have stuff.
And we all deal
So
with it differently.
and we all deal with it differently. So it's very important to figure out what stress,
Right.
which particular stress.
Yeah.
Where it's coming from.
And so, and where it's coming from, because you could just say, I'm stressed out. No, 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 no. Let's peel that onion.
Yeah.
Let's peel that onion and figure out why. And so, Dr. Donna, how have you figured out
So
what
I
triggers
can
you?
tell you, like the two of you, I'm super busy during the day. Like
Mhm.
I've been in business a long time as well. You know, you manage as women, right? As women, not only are we in business, is where the end of the business, but we also have a home to manage as well, whether it be, you know, cleaning and cooking and laundry and all whatever that is. We're busy. For me, I'm busy during the day. I have to focus on what I'm doing to get what I need to get done, accomplished. My triggers are not during the day. My triggers are when I come home. My triggers are when I have the downtime. I have identified mine as boredom, because
Okay.
my idle time makes my mind wander. And so, you know, sitting on the couch at night, and I can tell you, many of my patients are in the same situation, and that's why I can relate with them. Sitting on the couch at night, the couple of hours that I have the opportunity to do that, it's the boredom. And then you're starting to watch TV and you start to see these commercials. And so they increase those desires. I can tell you that I am spiritual, just like Coach Martha. And sometimes I need to shut that TV off and pick up a book or take a nice hot bath in the evening, or make myself a nice cup of tea. I really try not to succumb to that evening eating. Listen, we can all open up our pantry and spend 10 minutes trying to figure out what we want while eating half a bag of chips. I'm a sweet eater, you know, and I can tell you that, you know, half a bag of Reese's peanut butter cups can go right away. We've all been there, you know.
Mhm.
So my triggers in the evening, and it's mostly boredom, you know.
Yeah.
So again, because something completely different.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows Dr. Donna, they know she does not stop. She does not stop all day.
Yeah.
And that doesn't stress her out. But what stresses her out is when she doesn't have something to do.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's different. Everybody has something different. And you could say, oh my goodness, she's so busy, aren't you stressed out? And she'd probably tell you, yes, I have a lot of stress, but that's not what gets her.
No.
So again, when we're talking about those emotional triggers, this is why it's so important. Like I said, peel that onion, sit down with yourself, and in that moment figure out why am I reaching for this? Why am I standing in front of the refrigerator waiting for it to speak to me when I had a meal
Mhm.
2 hours ago?
Yep. We call that the root cause, why it's getting you
Mhm.
to that point. So Dr. Marty, now it's your turn.
Yeah.
And I'm a sweets eater also. Actually, let me rephrase that. I don't discriminate. I like all the foods. I wish I was a super picky
to be
eater.
honest, I'm the same way.
I wish I was a super picky eater, but I'm not. All my picky eater friends are like, they have no trouble keeping the weight off. That has never been my issue. I can eat. But if I could reach for sweets, that's what I will go for most of the time. And I think some of it is for is when I either, definitely my children, I have that worry of things you can't control, is one of the triggers, and absolutely boredom. So I think I would say that I'm a mixture of two. If you're sitting there in front of the TV and all of a sudden the whole bag of popcorn sounds great, and then you make one and you finish it and you're licking the bottom of the thing, oh, I'll pop another, it's low, it's light. And you know, and all of a sudden you've given yourself, you know, enough of a carbohydrate load for about 5 days. and and then it's awful. So same thing, coping strategies for me is I mix seltzer water with like fresh mint from the garden, and you know, mess with that. I will have hot tea. Like there's a lot of those herbal teas that have so much sweetness to them. Naturally, there was one that my daughter made for me a couple nights ago that I literally looked it up because I was like, this has to have sugar. There's no way that doesn't have sugar, and it was delicious. And so, you know, that's my routine now. Instead of reaching for the bowl of ice cream or the bag of popcorn or whatever, make a cup of hot tea. Make it hot enough that you have to sip it. It takes you a while. You smell it, engage all your senses, and you learn a new habit. Like Dr. Donna said, after a while, you know, instead of reaching for that when you're bored, maybe you go for a walk or you hit the treadmill. Instead of, you know, reaching for that when you're stressed, you clean your house. Hey, that's productive as all get out, right? So, I mean, you could decide whether you're going to channel and focus that into either a positive outcome at the end of it, or you can throw yourself completely off track and now it stresses you out more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dr. Donna created this PowerPoint, this amazing PowerPoint about emotional eating. And she has a couple of bullet points here. So know your emotional triggers. Number 1, keep a weight loss journal and write down what you eat and when. Number 2, keep track of all the foods and drinks you have in a day and when you ate and what you were feeling or how you were feeling at the time you ate it. And how did you feel in general that day? This also includes snacks and candy. Number 3, keep track of your eating habits for 2 or 3 weeks and look for patterns in your snacking and your meals. Number 4, review your journal and look at the times you ate the unhealthy foods or snacks and see if there is a particular emotion or situation or trigger you were feeling at that moment. So
my cat decided to participate in the Zoom today. That's one of the hazards of working from home.
So those are really great to-dos, you know, some takeaways for people to do while they're really searching within, getting an awareness of what causes them to emotionally eat, what are those triggers, and really, you know, peeling that onion, like you said, Dr. Marty, and really going down to the root cause of what puts you or takes you to that point. That is the most crucial, most important part or exercise for you to do, because if you really don't know that, then, you know, you really can't, you know, tackle it, right? So this was awesome. This series was amazing. I really hope that it helped many of you guys. Please let us know. We are here to support and help those that need it in our practices. Comment below, subscribe to our channel. Dr. Marty, you're moving into your new practice today?
Today. It's actually, yes, we've been waiting for this for a very long time, and it's super exciting. It's actually not ready yet, so we're going to be working out of the space next door. So we'll be moving again hopefully this weekend. But it's just, you know, it's one step closer. And again, you know, this is one of those things. I could have been stressed out and I could have spent the day stress eating yesterday as I saw that my space was not ready and I had nowhere to work today. But instead we pivoted, we made it work. You know, we came up with solutions. We made positive affirmations about the steps in the positive direction. And we didn't allow it to overcome the good part of it. Right? Because everything always, there's a positive and a negative to most things. Yeah, if you look at it. So you focus on the positive and you give yourself that positive talk. Dr. Donna talked about that, you know, self-talk. You talked about that.
So
I think if we spoke to other people the way that we talk to ourselves, we get punched in the face.
I say that all the time. If the words you speak to yourself you wouldn't say to another person, then you should not be saying them to yourself.
So that's super exciting, and we'll be there today. Yay!
Yay! I think a really great word that you used was pivot. So pivot, pivot.
Yep.
Whatever trigger comes at you, pivot. That is
Yep.
awesome. Dr. Donna, Inspire Weight Loss
She's-
Nutley.
It's
We
growing.
are, we are expanding. We will be starting construction and probably in the next couple of weeks to expand and serve everybody a little bit better, have more room. So that's kind of cool
Again,
and
and
exciting.
we're not going to allow that to be a stress trigger, right?
We're not.
No, it's actually
We're
not
not.
stressful.
It's
I say that,
it's
but
all exciting.
it's good stuff. It's all good stuff, you know.
It's all good stuff.
Maybe renaming it. Okay, so there's another tip, right? Rename it. Rename your anxiety, your cause of anxiety. So it could be stressful because you're doing construction, but instead it's going to be super exciting, and we're going to work on that word, right? So again,
Yeah.
strategies and learn your
Pivot.
triggers. And I think we've covered a lot
Yeah.
at this point. Pivot.
Hey, and if there's any other topics you want us to cover, please comment below, and we will be happy to do a series on it or do, you know, a one-day topic. We want to know what you want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, this is it. Okay, we'll catch you next time. We'll have a new video come out next week. We'll let you know what we'll be talking about. We can always talk about anything, right? We can talk. So catch you next time. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, guys.